Her fiancé left her because she was fat, but she married her fiancé's billionaire CEO. It's been a while since we shared Nova and Knox's beautiful story, but today we return because their journey didn't end with "I do." You all asked for a part 2 of this beautiful story. If you watched part 1, you know how satisfying it was to see Nova finally win in love. But sometimes life throws us back into the fire even after we've been delivered from it. Did you ever think you were done with someone only for life to bring them back into your space? What did you do? Tell us in the comments. You never know who you might inspire. Previously, Nova Jordan was discarded by her fiancé, Dylan Reeves, because she didn't fit his public image. But fate had bigger plans. Nova didn't just glow up. She ended up marrying his billionaire boss, Knox Harrington, who loved her for the very parts Dylan tried to shame. Months have passed. Nova is thriving as director of the Women's Empowerment Initiative. She's more confident, respected, and powerful than she's ever been. Knox remains her unwavering support system, but cracks begin to show when unexpected truths surface. Because just when Nova thought she was done with the past wasn't done with her. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, stop right here. Hit the subscribe button and go check it out first so you don't miss any of the emotional heat or the setup that makes this part so much more intense. Trust me, you'll be lost without it. Welcome back to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It's always a joy to hear from you. Thanks for being part of this growing family. Let's get into it. Nova Harrington stood at the head of a sleek conference room, her voice steady and commanding, as she addressed a room full of executives. The glass walls of Harrington Enterprises headquarters framed the glittering city skyline, a backdrop to her presentation on the Women's Empowerment Initiative. Her tailored blazer hugged her frame, and the confidence in her posture was undeniable. She clicked to the next slide, her eyes scanning the attentive faces. "Every woman deserves a seat at the table," she said, her tone warm but firm. "Our new wellness program isn't just about physical health. It's about mental resilience, financial independence, and breaking ceilings. This is personal for me. I've been in rooms where I was underestimated, and I know what it takes to rise." The room erupted in applause, and Nova allowed herself a small smile. A year ago, she'd been a shadow of this woman, reeling from Dylan Reeves' cruel rejection. Now, she was not only Mrs. Knox Harrington, wife to the billionaire CEO, but a force in her own right, spearheading initiatives that could change lives. As the crowd dispersed, her assistant, Lena, approached with a tablet in hand. "You killed it, Nova," Lena said, her eyes bright. "The board's already buzzing about expanding the incubator project." Nova tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her wedding ring catching the light. "Good, let's keep the momentum. I want the startup incubator proposal on Knox's desk by next week." Lena hesitated, her expression shifting. "There's something else. A new consultant started today. He's meeting with the strategy team this afternoon." Nova raised an eyebrow. "And?" Lena's voice dropped. "It's Dylan Reeves." The name hit Nova like a cold wave. Her fingers tightened around the stylus in her hand, but she kept her face neutral. "Dylan? As in, my ex-fiancé Dylan?" Lena nodded, glancing around to ensure no one was listening. "He's with a consulting firm they brought in for the merger. Temporary, 3 months. I checked, Knox didn't sign off on it. The CFO pushed it through." Nova's mind raced. "Dylan here? After everything?" She forced a breath, steadying herself. "Does Knox know?" "Not yet," Lena said. "I figured you'd want to tell him." Nova nodded, her jaw tight. "I will, thanks, Lena." As Lena walked away, Nova's gaze drifted to the city beyond the glass. Dylan's face flashed in her mind, his smug smile, the way he'd told her she was too much and not enough in the same breath. She'd rebuilt herself from that wreckage piece by piece, and Knox had been there every step, loving her fiercely, flaws and all. But now Dylan was back, worming his way into her world. Why? She headed to her office, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Her phone buzzed with a text from Knox. "Dinner tonight? Just us. I miss you." Her heart softened. She typed back, "Absolutely. 7 p.m. I have something to tell you." By the time she reached her office, her unease had settled into a quiet resolve. She wouldn't let Dylan's presence shake her. She was no longer the woman he'd discarded. Still, as she sat at her desk, her fingers hovered over her keyboard, a memory surfacing. Dylan's voice, sharp and cutting, telling her she'd never be enough for his image. She shook it off, focusing on her inbox, but the past felt closer than it had in months. That afternoon, Nova walked into the strategy meeting, her tablet in hand. The room was abuzz with analysts and executives, but her eyes locked on him immediately. Dylan Reeves stood near the projector, flipping through slides, his suit crisp and his demeanor polished. He looked older, his jawline sharper, but his eyes held the same calculating glint. When he saw her, his expression flickered. Surprise, then something else. Regret? Ambition? She couldn't tell. "Nova," he said, stepping forward, his voice smooth. "You look powerful. I guess you always were. I just couldn't see it." The room quieted, heads turning. Nova's smile was ice. "You didn't want to, Dylan. Let's keep this professional." He nodded, a hint of a smirk tugging at his lips. "Of course, I'm just here to do my job." The meeting began, and Dylan presented his analysis on the merger, his delivery slick and confident. Nova listened, her pen tapping lightly against her tablet. His ideas were solid, but something about his tone, too familiar, too self-assured, grated on her. When he referenced her initiative, praising it with a pointed look, her unease deepened. What was his game? After the meeting, Dylan lingered as others filed out. Nova gathered her things, sensing his approach before he spoke. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice low. "Just for a minute." She met his gaze, her expression unyielding. "There's nothing to say, Dylan. You're here to consult. Do your work and stay out of my way." He raised his hands, feigning surrender. "I deserve that. But I've changed, Nova. I owe you an apology. I was wrong about a lot." Her chest tightened, but she didn't flinch. "Your apologies are years too late. I'm not the same person you left, and I don't owe you closure." She walked out, her heart pounding. His words echoed in her mind, stirring doubts she thought she'd buried. Changed? Number Dylan didn't change. He adapted like a chameleon to get what he wanted. But what did he want now? That evening, Nova sat across from Knox at a candlelit table in their favorite restaurant, the soft hum of jazz in the background. His dark eyes studied her, warm but searching, as he reached for her hand. "You're quiet tonight," he said, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "What's going on?" She sighed, setting down her wine glass. "Dylan's back. He's a consultant at the company. I saw him today." Knox's jaw tightened, his grip on her hand firming. "Dylan Reeves? How the hell did that happen?" "Lena said the CFO hired his firm. You didn't know?" "No," he said, his voice low, edged with anger. "I'll handle it. He's gone by Monday." Nova shook her head. "Don't. Firing him now looks personal. He's temporary, Knox. I can handle 3 months." Knox leaned forward, his gaze intense. "I don't trust him, Nova. He hurt you once. I won't let him near you again." "He can't hurt me anymore," she said, her voice steady but her heart less certain. "I'm not that woman anymore, but he said he's changed, apologized. It felt off." Knox's eyes darkened. "He's playing an angle, always has. You don't owe him anything, Nova. Not a conversation, not a second thought." She nodded, squeezing his hand. "I know I told him to stay professional, but I need to figure out what he's after." Knox's expression softened, but his voice held an edge. "We'll figure it out together. You're not facing this alone." As they ate, Nova's mind wandered. Dylan's return wasn't random. He'd always been strategic, sniffing out opportunities like a hound. Was he after her? Knox? The company? She pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on Knox's laugh, the way his eyes crinkled when he teased her about her dessert obsession. But the unease lingered, a quiet pulse beneath the warmth. The next morning, Nova arrived at the office early, determined to stay focused. She was reviewing budgets for the incubator when Lena knocked, her face tense. "Nova, you need to see this," she said, handing over a tablet. Nova's eyes scanned the screen. A company-wide email from Dylan announcing a collaborative review of all major initiatives, including hers. The language was polite, but the implication was clear. He was positioning himself to scrutinize her work. "He sent this without my approval," Nova said, her voice tight. "Or Knox's." Lena nodded. "He's already got the CFO and 2 board members on board. They're calling it due diligence for the merger." Nova's stomach twisted. Dylan wasn't just back. He was making moves fast. She leaned back, her mind racing. "Get me everything you can on his consulting firm. Contracts, clients, financials. I want to know who's backing him." Lena hesitated. "There's one more thing. I overheard him on a call this morning. He mentioned a lawsuit against Harrington Enterprises." Nova's blood ran cold. "A lawsuit for what?" "I couldn't hear details," Lena said, but he sounded confident, like he's holding something over someone. Nova dismissed Lena, her fingers drumming on her desk. A lawsuit? Dylan didn't have the resources to take on a company like Harrington's, unless he had help. Someone with money, influence, or both. She opened her laptop, pulling up the merger files. Something wasn't adding up. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk, Nova. It's important." D. She stared at the screen, her pulse quickening. Delete it? Respond? She typed a reply, then stopped. Number? Let him come to her. She wouldn't play his game. But as she sat there, the weight of his return pressed harder. Dylan wasn't just a ghost from her past. He was a threat, one she didn't fully understand. And the open loops of his intentions, his apology, his sudden power play, twisted in her mind like a storm gathering strength. She glanced at a framed photo on her desk, her and Knox on their wedding day, her smile radiant, his arm around her like a shield. She'd fought too hard for this life to let Dylan unravel it. But deep down, a small voice whispered, what if the past wasn't done with her? What if it was only beginning? Nova stared at the text from Dylan on her phone, her thumb hovering over the delete button. The nerve of him slipping back into her life like he had any right to her attention. She set the phone face down on her desk, her resolve hardening. She wouldn't let him rattle her. Not today, not ever. But the email he'd sent, announcing his collaborative review of her initiative, burned in her mind. It wasn't just a power play, it was a challenge. And now Lena's mention of a lawsuit tied to Dylan's name twisted the knot in her stomach tighter. She stood, pacing her office, the city skyline a blur beyond the glass. She needed answers about Dylan's motives, his backers, and this mysterious lawsuit. But more than that, she needed to talk to Knox. His promise to face this together last night had steadied her, but Dylan's sudden influence in the company suggested something bigger at play. She grabbed her coat, texting Knox. Can we meet at home? Now? His reply was instant. On my way. At their penthouse, Nova waited in the living room, the soft hum of the city filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Knox arrived minutes later, his tie loosened, his dark eyes searching her face as he crossed the room. What's wrong? He asked, pulling her into a brief embrace. You look like you're carrying the world. She stepped back, her voice steady but sharp. Dylan's not just consulting Knox. He sent a company-wide email today, pushing to review my initiative. He's got the CFO and board members backing him. and Lena overheard him talking about a lawsuit against the company. What the hell is going on? Knox's face darkened, his jaw clenching. A lawsuit? He's bluffing. He doesn't have the resources. That's what I thought, Nova said, crossing her arms. But he's moving like he's got someone behind him. I've got Lena digging into his firm, but this feels personal, like he's targeting us. Knox ran a hand through his hair, his expression stormy. I'll get legal on it, and I'm pulling the plug on his contract. CFO be damned. He's not touching you or this company. Nova nodded, but her unease lingered. There's something else. He texted me wanting to talk. I didn't respond, but why is he so confident? What does he know that we don't? Knox's eyes softened, but there was a flicker of something, hesitation, before he spoke. He's an opportunist, Nova. He sees you thriving, sees us, and wants a piece of it. Don't let him in your head. She wanted to believe him, but that flicker in his eyes stuck with her. I'm not. But we need to be ahead of him, Knox. No surprises. He pulled her close, his voice low. No surprises, I promise. But as Nova leaned into him, a nagging doubt took root. Knox was her rock, but even rocks could hide cracks. The next morning, Nova was back at the office poring over the merger files when Lena burst in, her face pale. Nova, you need to see this, now. She handed Nova a tablet, open to a financial news article. The headline hit like a punch. Margot Vale acquires significant stake in Harrington Enterprises. Below it, a photo of a striking woman in her late 30s. All sharp cheekbones and a knowing smile stared back. The article detailed Margot's rapid purchase of shares, positioning her as a major player in the company's future. Who is she? Nova asked, her voice tight. Lena hesitated, glancing at the door. I did some digging. Margot Vale? She's not just an investor. She was engaged to Knox years ago. It ended badly. Lawsuits, NDAs, the works. No one talks about it, but she's back, and she's not just buying shares. She's meeting with board members today. Nova's breath caught. Engaged? Knox had never mentioned another fiancé, let alone one with this kind of influence. Her mind spun, replaying his hesitation last night. He never told me, she said, more to herself than Lena. Lena's voice softened. I'm sorry, Nova. I thought you should know before you walk into that boardroom. Nova nodded, her jaw tight. Thanks. Keep digging on Dylan and find out everything you can on Margot Vale. As Lena left, Nova sank into her chair, the tablet still in her hand. Margot's face stared up at her, charismatic and unyielding. A secret engagement? Lawsuits? NDAS? The weight of Knox's omission pressed against her chest. She trusted him, loved him, but what else was he hiding? Her phone buzzed, a text from her best friend Yasmin. Lunch? I'm in the city. Nova typed back, yes. I need you. At a bustling cafe near the office, Nova sat across from Yasmin, picking at her salad. Yasmin, ever perceptive, leaned forward, her braids swinging. Okay, spill. You look like you're about to snap. Nova exhaled, glancing around before speaking. Dylan's back, worming his way into the company with some shady lawsuit talk. And now, Knox's ex-fiancée Margot Vale is buying up shares in the company. She's meeting the board today. Yasmin, he never told me about her. An engagement? How do you hide that? Yasmin's eyes widened, her fork pausing midair. You telling me your man's crazy ex just popped up with money and motives, and he didn't warn you? Exactly, Nova said, her voice tense. He's acting like Dylan's the only problem, but this Margot woman, she's not just here for business. I can feel it. And Knox's silence, what else is he hiding? Yasmin leaned back, whistling low. Girl, that's a mess. You confronted him yet? Not about Margot, Nova admitted. I just found out. but I'm seeing him tonight. He's got some explaining to do. Yasmin's expression turned serious. Listen, Nova. You're not the same woman Dylan broke. You're a queen now. Don't let these ghosts, Dylan or Margot, dim your crown. But Knox? He needs to come clean. Secrets like that? They fester. Nova nodded, her resolve strengthening. I know, I'm not losing myself again. But I need answers. That afternoon, Nova walked into the boardroom, her head high despite the storm in her chest. The executives were gathered, and there at the far end was Margot Vale. She was even more striking in person, her tailored dress accentuating her confidence. Her eyes locked on Nova, a faint smile playing on her lips, as if she knew something Nova didn't. Nova Harrington, Margot said, her voice smooth as she extended a hand. I've heard so much about you. Your initiative is inspiring. Nova shook her hand, her grip firm. Thank you, Miss Vale. I'm surprised we haven't met sooner. Given your history with the company. Margot's smile didn't falter, but her eyes gleamed. Oh, I prefer to let my actions speak. I'm here to ensure the company's future. I'm sure we'll work well together. The meeting began, but Nova barely heard the discussion. Margot's presence was a live wire, her every word laced with intent. She spoke of streamlining initiatives, her gaze flickering to Nova, and praised Dylan's review process, revealing they'd already met. The connection hit Nova like a jolt. Dylan and Margot linked? How deep did this go? As the meeting ended, Margot approached, her voice low. Knox is lucky to have you, but you should know. He's not always as open as he seems. Ask him about Paris 2018. It's a story worth hearing. Nova's blood ran cold, but she kept her face neutral. I'll keep that in mind. Enjoy your time in our boardroom, Margot. Back in her office, Nova's mind raced. Paris 2018? Another secret? And Dylan's lawsuit, Margot's shares, were they coordinated? Her phone buzzed, a new text from Dylan. I know about Margot. Meet me, Nova. You'll want to hear this. She deleted it, her hands trembling. The past wasn't just haunting her, it was closing in. And the open loops of Knox's secrets, Margot's motives, and Dylan's agenda tightened like a noose. She needed to confront Knox, but first she'd find out what Margot and Dylan were planning. Because if they thought they could break her, they'd forgotten who she'd become. Nova stood in her office, the city lights flickering beyond the glass as Margot's words echoed in her mind. Ask him about Paris 2018. Her encounter with Margot in the boardroom had left her rattled, the woman's knowing smile and cryptic warning burrowing under her skin. Worse, the revelation that Margot and Dylan had already met, coupled with Dylan's persistent texts, suggested a web she couldn't yet see. Hurd deleted his latest message, but its weight lingered. I know about Margot. Meet me, Nova. You'll want to hear this. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction, but the questions piled up. Margot's shares, Dylan's lawsuit, Knox's silence. Her trust in her husband felt frayed, and she hated it. She glanced at the clock. Knox was expecting her at home, but the thought of facing him churned her stomach. She needed clarity, not comfort. Grabbing her bag, she texted him, running late, be home by 8. Be home. She needed time to think, to brace for the conversation she'd been avoiding. As she stepped into the elevator, her phone buzzed. Yasmin. You okay? Call if you need me. Nova smiled faintly, grateful for her friend's intuition, but didn't reply. This was her fight. At home, Nova found Knox in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, stirring a pot of marinara sauce. The domesticity of it, his easy confidence, the warmth of the room, clashed with the storm in her chest. He looked up, his smile fading as he caught her expression. You're late, he said, setting down the spoon. Everything okay? Nova dropped her bag on the counter, her voice clipped. No, Knox, it's not. We need to talk. Now. He frowned, wiping his hands on a towel. What's going on? She crossed her arms, steadying herself. Margot Vale, your ex-fiancé. Why didn't you tell me about her? Knox froze, his eyes narrowing. Margot? How do you... She's buying shares in your company, Knox. She was in the boardroom today, dropping hints about your past like it's a game. She told me to ask you about Paris, 2018. So I'm asking. Who is she, and why am I hearing about her from her instead of you? Knox's jaw tightened, and he turned away, gripping the counter. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Finally he spoke, his voice low. Margot was a mistake. We were engaged 6 years ago briefly. It ended because she betrayed me, leaked company secrets to a competitor for a payout. I cut her off, Nova. Lawsuits, NDAs, the whole mess. I didn't tell you because it was irrelevant. She's nothing to me. Nova's chest ached, but she pressed on. Irrelevant? She's buying your company, Knox. She's meeting with Dylan, who's pushing a lawsuit and scrutinizing my work. And you didn't think to mention you were engaged to her? What else are you keeping from me? Knox turned, his eyes flashing with frustration. I'm not keeping anything. I didn't want to drag you into that chapter of my life. It's over. I buried it. Buried it? Nova's voice rose, sharp. She's not buried, Knox. She's here, in our lives, and I'm blindsided because you didn't trust me with the truth. What happened in Paris? He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Paris was where it ended. I caught her meeting with the competitor, handing over files. I confronted her and she laughed, said I was too predictable to see it coming. I ended the engagement that night. That's it, Nova. There's nothing else. Nova stared at him, searching his face. She wanted to believe him, but the sting of his omission cut deep. You should have told me. I'm your wife, Knox. If our foundation isn't built on full honesty, what do we have? Knox stepped closer, his voice softening. We have everything. You're my world, Nova. I didn't tell you because I wanted to protect you from her poison. I'm sorry. I should have been up front. She stepped back, her throat tight. Protect me? I don't need protection. I need trust. And right now, I don't know if I have it. The words hung between them, raw and heavy. Knox's face fell, but he didn't push closer. Nova, I'll fix this. I'll get Margot out of the company, and Dylan, I'm handling him. She shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not just them, Knox. It's us. I need time. She turned, grabbing her bag, and walked to the guest room, closing the door behind her. The click of the lock felt final, a wall between her and the man she loved. She sank onto the bed, her mind spinning. Knox's betrayal wasn't like Dylan's. It wasn't cruel, but it hurt just the same. If he could hide Margot, what else might he hide? The next morning, Nova threw herself into work, her focus a shield against the ache in her chest. She met with Lena, who'd uncovered more on Dylan's consulting firm. It was funded by a shell company with ties to a rival corporation. The lawsuit rumor was real, a potential claim against Harrington Enterprises for mismanagement during the merger. Dylan was a pawn, but whose? Margot's the key, Nova said, scanning Lena's notes. She's connected to Dylan, and she's got the money to pull this off. Keep digging. Lena nodded, but her eyes were wary. Nova, there's something else. Margot's been asking about you. Not your work, your marriage. She's telling board members you're distracted? Nova's blood ran cold. Distracted? She's trying to undermine me. Or worse, Lena said. She's playing a long game. Be careful. At lunch, Nova met Yasmin again, her friend's presence a lifeline. Over coffee, she spilled everything. Knox's secret, Margot's moves, Dylan's threats. Yasmin listened, her eyes narrowing. Knox messed up, no question. Yasmin said, stirring her latte. But he's not Dylan. He loves you. Margot, though? She's trouble. And Dylan's her lapdog. You need to shut them down, Nova. Fast. I'm trying, Nova said, her voice tight. But Knox, I don't know if I can trust him fully. Not after this. Yasmin reached for her hand. You don't have to decide today. Focus on Margot and Dylan. Protect your empire, then deal with your man. Nova nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. That evening, she returned home to find Knox waiting, his eyes heavy with regret. Nova, can we talk? She set her bag down, exhaustion settling in. I'm listening. I've started the process to block Margot's share purchases, he said, his voice steady. And Dylan's firm is out by next week. I'm fixing this, but I need you to know. I'm all in. No more secrets. She wanted to believe him, but the distance between them felt vast. I hear you, Knox, but trust isn't rebuilt in a day. I need space. He nodded, pain flickering in his eyes. I'll wait, as long as it takes. As Nova retreated to the guest room, her phone buzzed. A new email from an anonymous sender. Check Margot's Paris deal. Knox isn't telling you everything. Attached was a scanned document, dated 2018, outlining a payout to Margot from Knox's company. Her heart sank. Another lie? The open loops tightened. Margot's vendetta, Dylan's schemes, Knox's half-truths. Nova's world was fracturing, and the question loomed. Could she hold it together, or would the past tear it all apart? Do you think people are entitled to know everything about their partner's past? Where do you draw the line? Let's talk. Nova sat on the edge of the guest room bed, the anonymous email's attachment burning into her retinas. The 2018 document showed a payout to Margot from Knox's company, millions funneled through an offshore account, labeled consulting fees. Her stomach churned. Knox had called Margot's betrayal a clean break. But this suggested something murkier. Was it hush money? A cover-up? She wanted to storm into the living room, demand answers, but the fracture in their trust held her back. She needed more than his words. She needed proof he was the man she'd married. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from the spiral. A text from Lena. Emergency. Check your email. Now. Nova's heart raced as she opened her inbox. Lena's message was brief. Found this on a gossip site. I'm so sorry. Attached was a grainy photo clearly taken at a private event. Dylan Reeves smirking, his arm around a woman whose face made Nova's breath catch. Camilla Harrington, Knox's younger sister, her confidant, her friend. A sparkling ring glinted on Camilla's finger. Nova's hands trembled. Camilla, engaged to Dylan? The man who'd shattered her, now entwined with the one person in Knox's family she'd trusted completely? She stared at the photo, her mind reeling. Camilla's warm smile, her late-night calls venting about Nova's fight with Knox, her promises to always have her back. All of it felt like a lie. The betrayal cut deeper than Knox's secrecy, a knife to the heart of her rebuilt world. She stood pacing the room, her pulse pounding. How long had this been going on? Why hadn't Camilla said anything? And Dylan, his apologies, his push into the company, his texts, were they all part of some twisted game tied to Camilla? Nova grabbed her phone, dialing Camilla. It went to voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. Fury and hurt battled inside her as she typed a text. We need to talk. Now I know about Dylan. Minutes later, her phone lit up. Camilla. I'm coming over. Please, let me explain. Nova waited in the living room, the penthouse's sleek elegance feeling cold and hollow. Knox was out, meeting with legal about Margot's shares, leaving her alone with her thoughts. When the doorbell rang, Nova opened it to find Camilla, her eyes red, her usual poise replaced by nervous energy. Nova, Camilla started, her voice shaky. I swear I never meant to hurt you. Nova's voice was steel. You're engaged to Dylan. Dylan. The man who humiliated me, who's now threatening my work, your brother's company. And you didn't tell me? You were the one person I thought would never betray me. Camilla's tears spilled over, but Nova didn't soften. I'm so sorry, Camilla said, wringing her hands. It started before he came back to the company. We met at a charity event 6 months ago. I didn't know who he was to you at first. I swear, by the time I realized I was already in love with him. Love? Nova's laugh was bitter. Camilla, he doesn't love. He uses. How could you not tell me? Camilla sank onto the couch, her voice breaking. I wanted to. Every time we talked, I tried, but I was scared. You were finally happy and Knox was so protective. I thought if I kept it quiet until things settled, it wouldn't hurt you. Dylan said he'd changed, that he regretted what he did to you. I believed him. Nova's chest tightened, memories of Dylan's fake remorse flashing through her mind. He's playing you, Camilla, just like he's playing everyone. He's pushing a lawsuit against the company, cozying up to Margot Vale, who's buying shares to destabilize Knox. And you're what? His way in? Camilla shook her head, desperate. No, he wouldn't. He's not like that with me. He loves me, Nova, but if you ask me to end it, I will. You're family. Nova stared at her, torn between rage and pity. Camilla's naivety was painful, but her loyalty, however flawed, felt real. I'm not asking you to do anything, Nova said, her voice low. But you need to open your eyes. Dylan's not here for love. He's here for power. And if you're with him, you're either his pawn or his shield. Camilla sobbed, but Nova's resolve held. Go home, Camilla. Figure out what you're willing to lose for him. But don't expect me to trust you until you do. As Camilla left, Nova's phone buzzed again. Another anonymous email. Camilla's not the only one with secrets. Ask Knox about the merger's hidden clause. Attached was a redacted contract page, hinting at a clause giving Margot veto power over major decisions if her shares hit a threshold. Nova's blood ran cold. Was this why Margot was moving so fast? And Knox, did he know? She sank onto the couch, her world tilting. Dylan's engagement to Camilla, Margot's power grab, Knox's payout to Margot, and now a hidden clause. It was all connected, a storm closing in. She needed to confront Knox, but the weight of Camilla's betrayal made her hesitate. Could she face another fracture in her family? The next morning, Nova met Lena at a quiet coffee shop, away from the office's prying eyes. Lena slid a folder across the table. Dylan's firm is definitely tied to Margot, she said, her voice low. The shell company funding them? It traces back to her offshore accounts. And the lawsuit, it's a smokescreen to scare shareholders, drive down stock prices so she can buy more. Nova's jaw clenched. And Camilla? Lena hesitated. I found texts between her and Dylan. She's been feeding him info about the company. Nothing major, but enough to help his consulting. She doesn't know about the lawsuit. Nova's heart sank. Camilla wasn't malicious, just blind. What about the merger clause? Still digging, Lena said. But if it's real, Knox either missed it or hit it. Either way, Margot's got him cornered. Back at the office, Nova buried herself in work, but her focus frayed. At lunch, Yasmin called, her voice sharp. You okay? Knox texted me, said you're sleeping in the guest room, and now Camilla's blowing up my phone, crying about Dylan. Nova sighed, rubbing her temples. Camilla's engaged to him, Yasmin. Secretly. She's been with him for months, and I had to find out from a leaked photo. Yasmin gasped. What? Wow, you confronted her? Yeah, Nova said, her voice heavy. She's in love, thinks he's changed. I told her to wake up, but I don't know if she will. Damn, Yasmin said. And Knox? You talked to him about Margot yet? Not about the payout or the clause, Nova admitted. I'm scared, Yasmin. What if he's not who I thought? Talk to him, Yasmin urged. You're stronger than this, Nova. Don't let Dylan, Camilla, or Margot break what you've built. That evening, Nova found Knox in his study, papers strewn across his desk. He looked up, his eyes tired but hopeful. Nova, can we... She cut him off, her voice steady. Did you know about a merger clause giving Margot veto power? And what about the payout to her in 2018? Was that really just a breakup? Knox's face paled, but he stood, his voice calm. The payout was to settle her lawsuit after she leaked secrets. I didn't want it public. The clause, I didn't know. If it's real, someone buried it. I'm auditing everything now. And Camilla? Nova pressed, her voice breaking. She's engaged to Dylan. Did you know? Knox's eyes widened, shock genuine. God, no. How? A photo, Nova said, tears stinging. She's been with him for months. Knox, our family, our trust. It's falling apart. He reached for her, but she stepped back. Nova, I'm fixing this. Margot, Dylan, the clause. I'll burn it all down if I have to. But I need you with me. She shook her head. The open loops. Camilla's betrayal, Margot's schemes, Knox's secrets tightening like a vice. I want to believe you, Knox, but I don't know what's real anymore. As she walked away, her phone buzzed, another anonymous text. Look closer at Camilla's ring. It's not what it seems. Nova's heart stopped. Another twist, another lie. The storm was here, and she was running out of time to find solid ground. Nova's phone trembled in her hand, the anonymous text glaring up at her. Look closer at Camilla's ring. It's not what it seems. Her first instinct was to call Camilla, demand answers about the ring, Dylan, everything. But she paused, her breath steadying. The web of secrets, Margot's payout, the merger clause, Camilla's engagement, Dylan's schemes, had her on edge, but she refused to let it unravel her. She'd been through too much to lose herself to panic or pettiness. She set the phone down, resolve settling in. She'd handle this her way. Calm, calculated, and with the authority she'd earned. She glanced at the study door where Knox was still working, his silhouette a reminder of their fractured trust. His shock at Camilla's engagement had been real, but his half-truths about Margot and the payout lingered like a shadow. She needed to confront him, not just about the past, but about their future. And Camilla. She deserved a chance to explain, but Nova wouldn't let her blind love for Dylan excuse his manipulations. First, though, she needed to see Camilla face to face. The next morning, Nova texted Camilla, "Meet me at the cafe on 5th, 10 a.m., no excuses." Camilla replied instantly, "I'll be there." At the cafe, Nova sat by the window, her coffee untouched. Camilla arrived, her eyes puffy, her usual vibrance dulled. She slid into the booth, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Nova," Camilla started, her voice small. "I'm so sorry, I should have told you about Dylan." Nova leaned forward, her gaze steady but not unkind. "You should have, but I'm not here to yell or guilt you. You're Knox's sister, my family. I want to understand. How did this happen?" Camilla's lip trembled. "It was fast. He was charming, different with me. He said he regretted hurting you, that he was young and stupid. I thought I could trust him, but after what you said, I'm not sure anymore." Nova's eyes flicked to Camilla's ring, the diamond catching the light. The anonymous text flashed in her mind, but she kept her voice even. "That ring, where'd it come from?" Camilla glanced at it, confused. "Dylan gave it to me last month. Why?" Nova filed the question away, her instincts humming. "Just curious. Camilla, you deserve to choose your path, to love who you want. But Dylan's past isn't a mistake. It's a pattern. He's using you, just like he's using Margot's money to push a lawsuit and destabilize the company. Don't excuse that. Camilla's tears fell, but she nodded. I don't want to hurt you or Knox. I'll talk to him, really talk. If he's lying, I'll end it. Nova reached across the table, squeezing her hand. You're stronger than you think. Make your choice, but make it with your eyes open. I'm here no matter what. As Camilla left, Nova felt a weight lift. Not fully, but enough. She'd chosen peace over rage, clarity over chaos. Now it was time to face Knox. That afternoon, Nova found Knox in his office at home, his desk littered with legal documents. He looked up, his eyes heavy with exhaustion and hope. Nova, I was about to call you. She closed the door, her voice firm but calm. We need to talk, Knox, really talk. About Margot, the payout, the merger clause, everything. Knox stood, his hands raised in surrender. I'm ready, no more secrets. I swear. She sat, crossing her arms. Start with the payout. Why didn't you tell me it was millions? And the merger clause, did you know? Knox exhaled, sitting across from her. The payout was to settle her lawsuit quietly. She threatened to go public, drag the company through the mud. I paid to protect what I'd built, but I should have told you. It wasn't about hiding her, it was shame. I let her manipulate me once, and I didn't want you to see that side of me. Nova's chest tightened, but she listened. And the clause? I didn't know, he said, his voice raw. I've got forensic accountants tearing through the merger docs. Someone, maybe the CFO, slipped it in. I'm firing anyone tied to it. Margot's shares are frozen pending investigation. She's not winning this. Nova studied him, searching for deception but finding only regret. Knox, I love you. But love isn't enough if we're not honest. I need transparency, a reset. No more surprises. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. You have it. I'll spend every day proving it. I'm sorry, Nova. For Margot? For not seeing Camilla's mess. Everything. Let me make this right. She nodded, the knot in her chest loosening slightly. I want to try, but we need time, away from all this. Knox's face softened. Name the place. I'll clear my schedule. Montana, she said, the idea sudden but right. Your cabin, just us, this weekend. Done, he said, a faint smile breaking through. No phones, no work, just you and me. That Friday, they drove to Knox's secluded cabin in Montana, the mountains rising like sentinels around them. The crisp air and quiet felt like a balm, a chance to breathe. They spent the first day hiking, their hands brushing but not quite holding, the distance between them palpable but softening. At night, they sat by the fire, wine glasses in hand, the crackle of logs filling the silence. Tell me something I don't know, Nova said, her voice soft but probing. Something real. Knox stared into the flames, his voice low. After Margot, I didn't think I'd trust again. I built walls, focused on the company. Then I met you, and you broke everyone. I didn't tell you about her because I was scared you'd see me as weak. Nova's heart ached, but she reached for his hand. You're not weak. You're human. I need that Knox, the real one, not the CEO. He squeezed her hand, his eyes meeting hers. You've got him. Always. They talked until dawn, peeling back layers, fears, dreams, mistakes. It wasn't a fix, but it was a start. Nova felt the spark of their connection reignite, fragile but alive. Back in the city, Nova checked her phone, braced for chaos. A message from Lena waited. Camilla confronted Dylan. He admitted the lawsuit was Margot's idea, but he's still denying using Camilla. She's keeping the ring, but distancing herself. Also, the ring's a fake. Cheap knockoff. Margot's behind it. Nova's jaw tightened. A fake ring? Margot's cruelty knew no bounds, and Dylan's complicity was no surprise. But Camilla's choice to step back was a glimmer of hope. Another text followed. Anonymous. Margot's meeting a new investor tomorrow. Check the merger's fine print again. Nova's resolve hardened. She'd chosen peace with Camilla and Knox, but Margot and Dylan were another story. As she curled up beside Knox that night, his arm around her, she knew the fight wasn't over. The open loops, Margot's investor, the merger's secrets, Dylan's next move, loomed large. But for now, she'd reclaimed her center, ready to face the storm with calm authority, not chaos. When trust is broken, even slightly, can it truly be rebuilt? How do you handle trust issues in love? Let us know below. Nova woke in the Montana cabin, Knox's steady breathing beside her, the warmth of their rekindled connection grounding her. The weekend had been a lifeline. Honest talks, quiet moments, a fragile but real reset. But Lena's text about Camilla distancing herself from Dylan and the fake ring, paired with the anonymous tip about Margot's new investor, pulled her back to reality. Margot's schemes and Dylan's betrayal still loomed, and the merger's hidden clause was a ticking bomb. As they drove back to the city, Nova's hand rested on Knox's, her resolve firm. She'd chosen peace with Camilla and Knox, but the fight for her future was far from over. Back at Harrington Enterprises, Nova threw herself into damage control. She met Lena in her office, the city skyline gray with impending rain. "What's the latest on Margot's investor?" Nova asked, scanning a stack of reports. Lena's voice was tense. "It's a hedge fund with ties to the same rival corp funding Dylan's firm. They're pushing Margot to hit the share threshold for that veto clause." "And the merger's fine print?" "I found a second clause. Margot gets board control if the stock dips below a certain point. Someone's leaking info to tank the price." Nova's jaw tightened. "Dylan, he's been feeding Margot intel through Camilla. Keep tracking the investor. We need to cut them off." As Lena left, Nova prepared for a speech at a women's leadership summit, her biggest yet. The auditorium buzzed with hundreds of attendees, cameras flashing as she took the stage. Her voice rang out, confident, sharing her journey from Dylan's rejection to leading the Women's Empowerment Initiative. But mid-sentence, a wave of dizziness hit. Her vision blurred, the room tilting. She gripped the podium, her words faltering, then collapsed. She woke in a hospital bed, Knox at her side, his face pale, eyes red. "Nova," he whispered, clutching her hand. "You scared the hell out of me." "What happened?" she asked, her voice weak. The doctor, a calm woman with a clipboard, stepped forward. "You fainted from dehydration and stress, but we ran tests. Mrs. Harrington, you're 8 weeks pregnant. Congratulations." Nova's breath caught, joy surging, then faltered at the doctor's grave expression. "There's a complication," the doctor continued. "You have a rare condition that could make carrying to term risky. There's a chance it could endanger your life." Knox's grip tightened, his voice breaking. "I just got you, Nova. I can't lose you." Nova's heart pounded, but she met his eyes, her voice firm. "This child is part of us. We fight together, or not at all." Knox nodded, tears falling, but his fear was palpable. Over the next days, Nova underwent tests, each one a tense wait. She worked from the hospital, refusing to let Margot or Dylan exploit her absence. Lena uncovered more. Dylan had sabotaged Nova's wellness program, falsifying data to make it seem unprofitable, hoping to get her fired. Camilla, devastated by his deception, confronted him. He admitted using her for access, and she broke off the engagement, returning the fake ring. "Camilla's a mess," Lena reported, "but she's done with him. She's cooperating with legal to expose his sabotage." Nova nodded, relief mixing with exhaustion. "Good. Get his contract terminated permanently." Knox barely left her side, his protectiveness fierce but tender. One night, as they sat in her hospital room, he took her hand. "I've been scared before, Nova, but nothing like this. You and this baby, you're my everything. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe." She squeezed his hand, her voice soft. "I know, But we're stronger than fear. We'll get through this. Weeks later, the doctor delivered cautious good news. With close monitoring, Nova could carry the pregnancy safely. The relief was overwhelming, Knox pulling her into a tearful embrace. They left the hospital hand in hand, their bond deeper, forged in the fire of uncertainty. Back at work, Nova and Knox moved swiftly. Legal banned Dylan from the company for life, his sabotage exposed to the board. Margot's investor backed off after Nova leaked their ties to the rival corp to the press, tanking their credibility. The merger clauses were voided, Margot's shares diluted by a strategic stock buyback. She retreated, her influence gutted. Camilla, humbled and apologetic, met Nova for coffee. "I was blind," she said, her voice raw. "Dylan used me and I hurt you. Can you ever forgive me?" Nova's smile was small but genuine. "You're family, Camilla. You made a mistake, but you owned it. We're good." As spring bloomed, Nova and Knox planned a quiet escape. A vow renewal on a secluded beach, their love now battle-tested. On the day, Nova stood in a flowing white dress, her small bump visible, the ocean sparkling behind her. Knox in a linen suit took her hands, his eyes shining. "Nova," he said, his voice steady. "I promised you forever, but I didn't know how much stronger that promise could grow. You're my heart, my strength, our child's mother. I choose you, always." Tears pricked Nova's eyes as she spoke. "Knox, you saw me when I couldn't see myself. Through every storm, you've been my truth. I choose you now and forever." They kissed as the waves crashed, their small group, Camilla, Yasmin, Lena, cheering softly. The ceremony was simple, but the love was profound, a testament to their journey from doubt to unshakable trust. That night under the stars, Nova rested her head on Knox's shoulder, her hand on her bump. The ghosts of Dylan, Margot, and their secrets were gone, replaced by a future they'd fought for. The open loops, betrayals, health scares, corporate games had closed, leaving only love, truth, and the promise of their growing family. As the tide rolled in, Nova knew. She'd not just survived the storm, she'd become it. Fierce, unstoppable, and whole. What part of this story hit you the hardest? And let's share our lessons and lift each other up in the comments.